Alright, what is going on, guys? My name is Leon Master. Welcome back to another Overwatch League news video. And today, guys, we have so much to go over. So much news happened today. It's been absolutely crazy with Valiant, with Dallas Fuel, Vancouver Titans, and LA Valiant bringing some surprises as well. I did not expect anything from LA Valiant, but they did a banger one in a bad way, I guess you could say, with one release being McGravy. But we're going to start from bottom to top. LA Valiant's going to be last. We're going to start off with the Atlanta Reign, with everything that happened to them the day I'm recording this. So Atlanta Reign, we have 3 free agents coming from them. It is Fried, Dogman, and Fire. And there will most likely be more, maybe tomorrow, whenever this video is fully uploaded. There's probably going to be a lot more. And when it came to these 3 players, it was actually very hard to find teams to kind of recommend for it. You know, I will talk about these guys. Fried, he didn't really play at all Season 3. You know, in Season 2, he was actually really good. Probably one of the better off-tanks in the league. Probably up there, A or S tier for sure. Probably A tier. But he was definitely one of the better off-tanks last season, Season 2. He didn't get any playtime this season, which I wish we still saw him play. But Hawk got the playtime the entire time. Then you have Fire, who only played like 1 or 2 maps. I remember he played on Gibraltar, and that was it. He played Brig, and he didn't have a good showing, which was unfortunate. I think they just threw him in there for Brig. It was just weird. You know, Fire's a good player. If you watched Fire back on Team Envy and Contenders when he was playing, he was honestly one of the best main supports there. People compared him to Moth. He was the top main support coming into the Overwatch League. He went to Atlanta Reign, and I knew as soon as he got assigned to Atlanta Reign, he was going to be benched all season, unfortunately. But that's what it is. Hopefully Fire does find a team next season. It's going to be hard, honestly. This next season is going to be very hard for a lot of players to get teams because it's changing a lot for this next season. Then with the Dogman, I think it's honestly very hard to find teams for Dogman as well. He did an alright job in Season 3. In Season 2, he was up and down. At the end of Season 2, I do gotta say he was really good off-sport. I was really hoping he would have performed like that coming into this season, but that just wasn't the case. He unfortunately didn't really perform that well this season. It was kind of up and down. He did get a little bit better near the end of the season, but it was a little bit too late compared to Season 2. It sucks to see Dogman free agent. I really don't see him getting signed to another team. I would hope he gets signed back to Atlanta Reign, but I don't know what they want to do. I don't know Atlanta Reign's direction. So hopefully Dogman does get a chance somewhere. I don't really know what team to pinpoint, honestly. I don't want to keep saying Toronto, Vancouver, and that'll probably be the main 2 teams I'll keep saying. So keep that in mind when it comes to these players. Fire, I've already said Fire to Toronto numerous times. Fry to Toronto as well, maybe even Vancouver. For all 3 of these guys in general, I'm not really going to make graphics for them because it's just over and over again with the same teams, and you guys kind of get the point at this point. But I will say if Atlanta Reign, those free agents, that's probably not going to be the last. We're probably going to see almost majority of the team, honestly, get free agent stuff in the next upcoming days. If not, I'm very surprised because Atlanta Reign was really disappointing this season compared to what we thought it was going to happen. So I think there's going to be a lot of releases. Maybe they'll keep Edison or so, but expect a lot more releases the day this video comes out. Obviously I'm recording this the day before when everything actually happened, but it's coming out on a whole new day. Whole new stuff's gonna happen. But let's go ahead and jump to the next topic, which is the Dallas Fuel. And I guess I was somewhat right, even though I think it was kind of obvious though that they were gonna do a full revamp after what Hastro kept saying over and over again, especially in the most recent videos on Team Envy with Day in the Life of Hastro. I think it is on that channel. They're doing a full revamp. They basically released the whole roster. The only players that are on the roster right now is AKM, Gamsu, and Doha. I expect AKM not to be on that roster tomorrow when I wake up. I don't expect Gamsu to really be on there. I really hope Doha and Young stay, and they build around that and get new players, free agents. But anyways, let's talk about the releases. Free agents, they're basically done. They're not getting the contract renewed, so they're basically releases. So Closer, Crimzo, Note, Paintbrush, Trill, and Onigata are all currently free agents. Trill is retired from Overwatch, not surprising there, unfortunately. Trill had a lot of, hype coming in when he got in the Season 2. I really wanted Trill to be on a 2-way contract, not fully promoted. It just is what it is for Trill, unfortunately. I think he had a lot of potential. It just unfortunate he was signed fully promoted to the Dallas Fuel. Then you have Paintbrush, who honestly had a pretty decent season. When he first got signed to the Dallas Fuel, I enjoyed him. I think he was actually better than Closer at some points. I was probably in a small group there when I talked about that. As soon as I think they lost to Vancouver, or maybe the game after, everything kind of went downhill. Paintbrush's game style went down. It was just all bad. Oniga was good, at the end of the season with him playing on ping. Closer was benched all season long, but I do gotta say it was very not impressive from Closer this season. You have Crimzo, probably the best part on Dallas Fuel next to Note and also Doha. Crimzo was great. I still don't understand all the hate he got back in the beginning of the season. I really don't understand it at all. He was an underrated off sport. He was really good in general. If there was a piece that we're going to keep, I would love to see Crimzo being kept on the Dallas Fuel, but that's obviously not the case anymore. Then you have Note as well. He did good this season. He did pretty last season, but he did good, and obviously we'll talk about teams these players can go to and it's going to be a lot. To get it out of the way, it's as much as it sucks to say this, I don't have a team for Paintbrush. I really don't. Knowing how teams are really going this season, they really want to win a lot. Some of these teams really want to win after what we're seeing the revamps come through. I really couldn't find a strong team for Paintbrush to go to. The two teams that came up, or maybe even three, I guess, is the Vancouver Titans, you had the Toronto Defiant, and maybe the Houston Outlaws. I don't see Houston Outlaws happening. Honestly, if I was Toronto Defiant, I wouldn't take Paintbrush. It wouldn't be that huge of an upgrade over Cruise, but it would be an upgrade for sure. And Vancouver Titans, I guess the only one would make sense is Vancouver because he was supposed to be on Vancouver this season, but he went to Dallas instead because Dallas came in at the trade. So I can see him really going on Vancouver, but it's hard to determine. It really is a Paintbrush. I think he's a great player. He's a great person to probably be around as well. He's definitely one of those players who needs to be in Overwatch League next season, but it just all depends on how it goes. He definitely grinds the game a lot, so I think that in general will make him go to a team, but it just all really depends on what happens with Paintbrush. I hope he does be in the Overwatch League though next season. Now let's move on to the first player we got. It is Onigod. I only have one team down for him, which I hope this team he does get signed to. I think he would actually do a lot of good on this team. There's only one good team, I said, not that many other teams, but the one team I wrote down is the London Spitfire. I think it's pretty obvious at this point that they are going to promote British Hurricane. They don't have a hit scan DPS because Sparker, however you say his name, is going to be underage till June. So you got to find that other hitscan DPS player, and we're going to talk about another one as well because Vancouver Titans also released Tsuna, which I would not be surprised if Tsuna also went on the London Spitfire. In general, they do need a hitscan in general for next season, so might as well get Onigod, Tsuna, whoever the case is. I would love to see Onigod on this roster. Also, there's Linkser. There's a lot of hitscans London Spitfire can sign that is EU as well with Tsuna, Onigod, and Linkser. So hopefully Onigod does go to London Spitfire. I would love to see that, him playing with Dan as well, and the team they will just have in general. I would love to see that. It would be an insanely good duo, just insanely good to see him on London Spitfire. Then you have Note. I only wrote two teams down for Note. It was kind of obvious, Toronto Defiant and the Vancouver Titans. Not that much really say there. They don't really have any off tanks. It's going to be very hard for some off tanks to come back in the league. Note's great and all, but there's a lot of other off tanks in the league. We have a lot of good off tanks in the league right now, so it's very hard to compete right now. And I think Note's great, but it's going to be hard getting a spot. I thought about Valiant, but my gut was telling me that was not going to happen. I looked at it and I was like, that's kind of silly to think Note will be on the Valiant. Who knows the Valiant's direction this season? I just think for sure Note's got to be either on Toronto or Vancouver. I want to put my bets on Toronto though. Then you have Crimzo. It's almost the exact same thing. I wrote down Toronto Defiant. I wrote down LA Gladiators. I wrote down Vancouver Titans. Those are the three teams for sure. And now that I'm thinking about it, maybe even the Houston Outlaws. Who knows what's going to happen there? I think Houston Outlaws will make sense as well, but Toronto Defiant, if anything happens to Kariv and they want to do a revamp, they get Crimzo in, maybe he'll be a little bit more consistent, maybe even better than Kariv, who knows, depending on what happens with Toronto Defiant. Vancouver Titans is obvious, he's better than Rolf by miles. You have LA Gladiators. The only reason I wrote LA Gladiators down is because there is no supports, so I think that would make sense. It feels weird to put him down. My gut's telling me that won't happen, but I might as well just write it down because they don't have any off sports right now, and I would not be surprised if they did sign him. So in general, I think Crimzo does have some chances to go to some teams. I think he's definitely Overwatch League level, and he should be in the Overwatch League next season. It just depends on what happens. There's a lot of good off sports, a lot of good off tanks in the league right now. It just all depends on what happens with what these teams are going to, what's the direction. We're only in 3 or 4 days into this offseason, and we're getting a lot of releases. There's going to be more for sure. There's going to be trades. There's going to be a lot. So very hard to predict right now. Now I have Closer, and I actually wrote some teams for Closer, which you may be surprised by this, and I have my reasons why. It is the Guangzhou Charge, the LA Gladiators, and the Florida Mayhem. I think these three teams, more of two, Guangzhou Charge and Florida, would be great fits for Closer. Mostly Charge. I really like the Charge pick I have here. I just think he would fit that playstyle in general, and I think he would just all around just fit the team of what the playstyle is, maybe what their next coaching staff will probably be. Who knows what that's going to be. And just the players there as well. I think Closer could really fit into that team. LA Gladiators, that is a possibility I feel like, but like I said, Crimzo, there's no support, so might as well write it down. Yeah, Florida Mayhem, they don't have a main support. I think Closer could fit on that team well, but I definitely think there is more upgrades or options for Florida Mayhem. I genuinely think he could fit really well in the Guangzhou Charge though. So that was it with all of the Dallas Fuel players, and it was very hard to get some of these teams written down because some of them, the league has gotten so much harder, I guess you could say. The level has gone up so much. It's very hard to write some of these players down on teams they can go to, unless it's the bottom tier teams, right? And I don't want to keep repeating myself. Making graphics as well for Toronto and Vancouver is going to get very annoying. It kind of burns me out a little bit making those two specifically. Everyone else, it's completely fine. But Toronto, Vancouver, I'm going to keep saying that over and over again. So please keep that in mind when I talk about teams they can go to in general. So please keep that in mind. Now on to Vancouver Titans. They've also released 3 players as of today when I'm recording this video, and they released Karkar, Tisuna, and KSA, which is a surprising part. And I do have teams these guys can all go to, and I'll talk about the season. Tisuna really only played what, like a week or two, and it was all right. He had high ping issues. He did pretty all right. It wasn't the best, but he did all right for the times he did play. Karkar, I had a lot of high hopes with Karkar coming into the season when he got signed to the Titans. It just didn't come through because maybe he didn't have the synergy with the team because he was on a whole different team before Second Wind, so maybe that couldn't really fit well. Same thing goes with KSA as well, but I had high hopes for Karkar. I think there is still a chance for him to be in the Overwatch League. Now on to KSA, he was obviously the bright spot on the team next to Dalton and Shockwave, mostly Shockwave though, but KSA, very shocking to see him being released from the Vancouver Titans, but I do think he does have a future in the Overwatch League as well. And to talk about the teams these guys can go to, Tisuna, only one team. I've already said it already, the London Spitfire. If they don't get Onigod, you might as well get Tisuna. I think he could be a good fit as well beside Dan. I think just in general, London Spitfire, a lot of EU players are going to go to that team, kind of like Paris Eternal, but London Spitfire is looking like it's going to be the better kind of like EU team compared to Paris Eternal in Season 2. They're going to bring British Hurricane in, maybe some new additions with maybe Jofi, or maybe Onigod, maybe Linkser, maybe Tisuna. It'd be great to see. I think they can make a really good team with all these free agents coming out right now. And the same thing goes with KSA. I wrote down KSA with London Spitfire and the LA Valiant. Obviously, I know Molf1G is the off-tank right now for the London Spitfire, or British Hurricane, I guess you could say. But KSA coming in, maybe there can be a rotation. KSA can be on the bench with a rotation coming in. I don't know. It's very hard to find a team. LA Valiant was the one people kind of joked about a lot this season, but now could be a possibility. With McGravy gone, you could easily get KSA on this team. Maybe KSA is cheaper than McGravy as well, depending if they want to keep doing that budget thing, because there is some teams that still want to do budgets. So KSA coming into LA Valiant or London Spitfire would probably be really good fits for him. Then you have Karkar. I actually wrote 3 teams down for Karkar, and I'll have my explanations why. Is the Atlanta Reign, Houston Outlaws, Toronto Defiant. Houston Outlaws, for some reason my gut was telling me that, but I think he could also sit on the bench there if Boink goes away. That's all if Boink goes away, because I'm surprised nothing came out today with Boink. Toronto Defiant, I think he's just a tiny bit better than Cruz. If we're looking at his past, but obviously if we're looking at this Overwatch League season, I would say Cruz is better than Karkar. But it depends on what happens. Depends on what happens with the players and coaching in general. I think Karkar could potentially be better than Cruz, but it's probably a hot take. But it just depends on how everything lines up. But I would say if we're looking at Overwatch League seasons, Cruz has been better than Karkar this season. But if we're looking at like everything all around, I would say Karkar has been pretty good in the past, but he just had a really unlucky season with the Vancouver Titans. And when it comes to the Atlanta Reign, he's just worked with the Atlanta, organization before. He played on the Atlanta Academy. I think he has somewhat worked with it. I know they weren't playing together. He somewhat maybe worked with Hawk and Gator and maybe other people as well on the team. So I would not be surprised if, because of the talks Atlanta Academy probably had, he could probably go to Atlanta Reign. Maybe that's me stretching a lot here, but that's a possibility. And next one that came to my mind, maybe Boston Uprising. Maybe, but there's a lot of players Boston could sign right now with Laurie as also the head coach. It just depends on how everything goes, like I said, with more releases and all that. So these 3 teams, very unlikely, but I would not be surprised if I saw him get signed to these 3 teams, maybe 4 of Boston Uprising. Sorry if this video feels a little bit slow. I am kind of tired right now, but I do want to get this video out for you guys. We also have the LA Valiant as well. Very surprising, like I said on McGravy, but here's their tweet. They released Apply, Gig, and McGravy. Not surprised with Apply and Gig. And when it came to those two, I do got to say though, Apply, when he did play, he was alright this season. Gig, when he did play, I was impressed for a little bit, but then the play kind of went down a little bit. McGravy, I expected what McGravy did this season. He was always good on Team Envy. He was good when he came to LA Valiant the times he did play. And now that he got a full season with the Valiant, I was so happy to see that. He was still good. Solid part of the LA Valiant and bringing that play style in. He's still solid off tank. I think he will most likely be in the Overwatch League next season. If not, I'll be very surprised. Very surprised to see McGravy gone. and we'll see where it goes. I actually have some teams to write down here for these guys. Like I said already, apply. I would not have a team, but if there was a team, it would be the Vancouver Titans. That's why I'm not making a whole logo again. I talked about it in the past in my top 10 players that needed to get traded. I did that with the Vancouver Titans. I still kind of agree with that now because they still don't have a flex DPS. Apply could go there, and Apply may be cheap as well, and I think he could just fit the Vancouver Titans. Gig, I do not have a team for Gig. I really don't. If there was, it would be the Toronto Defiance, maybe the Houston Outlaws, but I don't see Gig really joining the Overwatch League again, and it sucks to say that because he did have a somewhat alright, contenders performances, and when he did play this season, they were alright as well. But the only player I wrote teams for, it's pretty obvious, is McGravy, and the teams I wrote down for him is the Houston Outlaws, Atlanta Reign, Toronto Defiant, and the Vancouver Titans. And out of all of these teams, I think Houston Outlaws would fit the most right now. I think he could gently fit that roster, looking how the coaches is going, and looking at the team that they somewhat have right now with Dante, maybe, and whatever else they're going to keep. I don't know, they only have like 5 players, right, or something like that. They don't have a big team right now, but the coaching is really making me think it's going to be McGravy. For some reason, my gut's telling me that, and I think he would just be a good fit for the Houston Outlaws, but it all depends if Meko's released or not, if Meko is going to get fully released. If Meko's not going to get fully released, McGravy should not go to Houston Outlaws because I don't want to see him benched. He's still good enough. When it comes to the Atlanta Reign, I think he's just better than Hawk. In general, he's more consistent as well. McGravy's really consistent on all off tanks. Hawk has been really inconsistent in Season 3, so I think when you bring McGravy in, you have a more consistent off tank play. Toronto Defiant, Vancouver Titans, it's the obvious stuff already. Vancouver doesn't even have an off tank anymore. Toronto, he's just better than Nevix by a long shot. So that's all I really got to say about McGravy. Anyways, guys, that is it with all the news today. There was a lot after I uploaded my one video earlier yesterday. But yeah, that's it. If you guys want to stay more tuned with, all the Overwatch League news, free agents, releases, trades, signings, all that, and make sure to subscribe to this channel. Don't forget to join my Discord down below. Also, don't forget about my Twitter and my Twitch, and don't forget to hit that bell, and don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe down below, and I'll see you guys on the next one.